Hey, this is Eddie Olczyk. You're listening to Empty Betters with Nick, Mac, and Harrison.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to episode 92 of Empty Betters. I'm your host, Harrison Scholl. I'm going to toss it across the screen to my co-host, Nick Manella. How we doing?
Doing well, man. How are you doing, birthday boy? Had your birthday yesterday.
I did have my birthday yesterday. I am officially in my mid-20s. I'm an old, washed-up hag. But do you know what tomorrow is? We're recording this on September 1st. Are you aware of what September 2nd is?
No, I'm
It'll
not.
be 2 years since our first episode.
Oh, that's right.
Launched. So we are officially at the
That's
2-year
nuts.
mark. I know, crazy.
Wow.
92 episodes in. If we didn't have COVID, we'd probably be at 100 by now, I would
Probably.
say. It's been a hell of a 2-year ride. So
Yeah.
happy birthday to the podcast and happy birthday to myself, I suppose. Now I'm going to check in with my other co-host, Mac Vogel. How we doing, buddy?
Doing well, living life out here in Milwaukee, and can't complain much. We got Summerfest starting up pretty soon out here, which is pretty unconventional because typically it's in late June, early July. But just with everything, it's been pushed to September. So I'm excited. Kind of gets that feeling of like an extended summer a little bit. So
Sure.
Looking forward to the next couple of weekends.
Absolutely. Yeah, it feels like it's been a month since we last recorded, but we will all be together in person in 2 weekends in Richmond, Virginia for a NASCAR race. Don't ask any questions about
Can't
why
wait.
or how.
So excited.
Yeah, so we'll all be together, and then we'll be at the Craig Laughlin Golf Charity Tournament on September 13th. Just as a reminder, be on the lookout for our social media pages on that day. We also want to remind you, this is the last week to pick up our summer merch designs. They're going to be taken off the store after this week. So if you haven't gotten yours now, you're going to want to pick it up. Also, the Wowie Kazowie bundle that will be sold at the Craig Laughlin Golf Tournament. You can buy that online at our shop that you can find on our website. It'll be the top item on there. We do want to let you know we will be doing a fall merch drop. The summer one went pretty well, so we've decided we're going to do a fall one. Got some solid designs. Those will be finalized in the next 2 weeks here, so be on the lookout for some of those things. Today's episode, we are welcomed by John Schiavo. John spent some time back in his heyday at rookie camp with the New York Islanders. He's from Long Island, so that's obviously a dream come true for him. He now plays in the SPHL professionally, and he also plays professional roller hockey. He's been on Team USA before, does some tournaments all around the country, talks about his experiences, growing up playing hockey in Long Island and how roller hockey was such a big thing. So pretty cool that you get a guy who plays professionally, both ice and roller.
Yeah, it was a super cool interview. And I guarantee you, like, if you don't know this guy's name, you've seen his stuff on the internet before. So I think everyone will enjoy this one.
Yeah, if you're into like all the crazy one-handed, lacrosse move deking shit, then he's definitely going to be a good guy for you to watch. I know a lot of people who listen to us listen to Pavel Barber or watch Pavel Barber. John does the same thing as him. Pavel's actually shouted out John for some moves in the past. So we really want to thank John for coming on. And for anybody who's into roller hockey, I think you're going to nerd out over this. So it's going to be a good one. We'll be dropping that in the middle of the episode. But before we get to the news and I toss it off to Nick, just want to remind you guys that this episode is brought to you by Brackish Life. Let's take a minute to talk about Brackish Life. If you're like us and grew up on the water and outdoors, then Brackish Life is perfect for you. They have a wide selection of gear from UV shirts to hoodies and hats. It's Real Bay apparel made by Real Bay people. Head to www.brackish.life today to check them out. A little salty, a little fresh, Brackish Life. Brackish Life has also teamed up with Rink to Reef Chesapeake Bay to preserve the area many of us call home. Rink to Reef repurposes broken hockey sticks into oyster restoration habitats. Brackish Life donates a portion of their proceeds to Rink to Reef to further preserve the beautiful Chesapeake Bay area. Support this great cause by checking out www.brackish.life today.
Do you guys
Nick?
like oysters?
Love. Huge fan.
Yeah,
Same.
yeah, they're good.
Raw or grilled?
Raw.
Raw.
Raw, but
Raw
good
with
either
a
way.
lemon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go either way, but raw with a lemon in the summertime with like a nice little, shock top.
Yeah.
Different.
Or some hot sauce on there. I love that.
Yeah, what's the horseradish or cocktail it comes with?
I can't do horseradish ever
I can't
again.
either,
But
cocktail's good though.
cocktail's not bad, but I do think like a good hot sauce on there is primo. Mac, do you have a question of the day, topic for the day for us?
Yeah, I have a quick one, just like
Yeah.
kind of a random one I was thinking about is you guys know how there's like unwritten jersey number rules in like a lot of sports, but there really doesn't seem to be in hockey. Like obviously football, you have kind of the like different sections of like what position wears like which range of numbers, and that's not even really an unwritten rule. That's just like a rule.
Yeah.
They did away with that, this year actually. This
So
is the first
technically
year
you can do whatever you want now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why.
But I feel like most guys will
most guys
still
don't though. Yeah.
Yeah.
follow suit. And so even in baseball, I believe pitchers typically wear, I forget if it's higher numbers or lower numbers, but there's like a tendency there
I
as
think
well.
it's higher, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe, I don't know. But either way, it just dawned upon me that like hockey is just the one sport that I feel like has never had that. And it's always been like all over the place. I'm just
Yeah. I mean,
wondering,
maybe like
if y'all think there's a reason for that, or
I thought like the only one that comes to mind is like goalies. Like
One is
goalies, I
30.
feel like are either 130 or 31.
right. But
And
then
it's
you have,
only like Holtby and Vasilevsky who are like 70 and or
Yeah.
Holtby, what's Holtby now? 49.
something like that. There's a bunch
Yeah.
of goalies now, like newer goalies that I feel like are starting to like wreck that little like
Yeah.
tradition. But yeah, typically like 130, 35 or somewhere in the 30s.
Here's one. I don't think, and hopefully I'm not like totally off on this. I don't think that there is a defenseman in the NHL that wears a jersey number above 90. Sergachev is 88.
Sergachev's 98.
Oh, fuck. Never mind.
Vasilevsky's 88.
That all went to shit. I
Yeah.
just feel like defensemen in general.
And I think Victor Mete was 93 for a little bit, wasn't he?
Was he? I just feel like defensemen in the NHL, they're usually like lower jersey numbers.
It's like
Yeah.
they're like 1 through 7, or they're like 45 and up.
Yeah.
But they have to be like a random number if it's high. It can't
Yeah.
be like no defenseman is gonna wear like number like 20 or like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it weird that Dougie Hamilton is number 19?
kind of.
A little weird. Yeah, I would say.
Typically
also-
just because it's like one of the most, if not the most sought after number in hockey usually.
Here's one for you. I believe I read this like last week. I think amongst active players, Sid is the only one who has his own unique number. Nobody else in the league has 87.
Donald
That's
Brashear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Right. I'm pretty sure that's the stat that I read about maybe one or 2 weeks ago.
Sounds
But
right. I can't think of anyone who does. I can't think of any other numbers that are like that either.
What do you think about, and Harrison, I'm interested to hear your opinion on this versus Max. Do you remember when Josh Hosang had his like brief stint in the NHL and people were losing their minds over the fact that he wore the number 66?
Yeah, I do remember that.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I lost my mind a little bit. So. Would you expect me to say, yeah, it's fine.
Right.
Well, especially since he's never really like made some noise. I mean, it'd be one thing if he was like, McDavid, Eichel, Matthews, like, okay, I can kind of maybe sympathize with that. But yeah, I don't know. I just doesn't feel right to me.
Only one other person since, other than Hosang and since Mario has put on 66, you know who it is?
I do not.
You'll never guess it. TJ Brody, but
Really?
yep.
When did he?
I think
he
it was his
doesn't wear that now.
rookie year or something like
You
that.
didn't have any business doing that either.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's not really that much better, but
Yeah. Mac, what do you think about that? Do you think Lemieux's number should be off limits league wide or no?
No, I don't think that you
Of
can.
course.
I don't think that you can do that with any number except this one right above
Yep.
my right shoulder for 99, but I get it being like an unwritten rule. I don't think you can make another league wide like this is official, you cannot wear this number on any team, because that would just
Didn't
like
the
take
wasn't the
something away
Q
from Gretzky. But
thinking about doing that for Sid's number?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
were debating that, but I mean, we'll see what happens. I don't know.
yeah,
87 is a
I get
strange
like
number.
I get it being kind of an unwritten thing though. Like I'm if I was like a Penguins fan, I'd probably be kind of annoyed about that too.
Yeah, for sure. Let's get to some news. Unfortunately, the first three things we're going to talk about today are extremely difficult subjects for us to speak about. We lost a lot of good people in the hockey community over the last 2 weeks. First and probably foremost, former NHL forward Jimmy Hayes has passed away at the age of 31. Hayes suited up for the Hawks, the Panthers, the Bruins, and the New Jersey Devils over 7 seasons. He had 109 points in 334 games played. He was born and raised in Dorchester, Massachusetts. Obviously, he's the older brother of Flyers forward Kevin Hayes. So he spent 3 years at BC, won an NCAA championship with them in 2010, and then got to go play for his Bruins, his hometown team. And I just remember that being such a huge story when that happened. And, you know, this is just such horrible news to come literally out of nowhere when, you know, there was really no warning signs for it.
Yeah, just horrible, so horrible. He's obviously doing his own podcast on the Missing Curfew podcast, so they do a great job over there. Real funny guys. Our buddy Rick Rowley's been on there quite a bit. It's just sad, man. It really is. I don't know why, but this is still kind of stung me. Like I'm still kind of like thinking, like, you know, what the hell? Like, you know, how's that happen? Could be any of us, right? And it's the real sad part is, you know, he was I think his kid's birthday. He was celebrating his kid's birthday the night before he passed. Brian Dumoulin was at the dinner. They're real good buddies. You know, he's got 2 kids that are both I think like 1 and 1 that's under 1, so real young. You know, beautiful wife, and leaves all that behind. So it's really sad, man. It really is. You know, you just got to remember that you're not promised anything, and so anything that you've been waiting to do or think you should do, go do it, because you're really not promised anything, and he'll be sorely missed. And I'm praying for the Hayes family.
Yeah, I'll echo that. I'm still speechless on this one, kind of like Harry said, but you know, if there's any bright side, there's been a lot of really good stories about this dude over the past couple days, just people sharing good memories about him, and so that's really the only thing you can do at this point. But yeah, definitely thinking of the family and wishing them the best.
Yeah, it's so tough when something like that happens. And obviously, as we've all said, you know, thoughts and prayers go out to him and his family members. Unfortunately, that wasn't, you know, the only casualty. The next one to discuss is that the BC junior hockey community took a huge blow over the last week and a half after a crash took the lives of 3 teenage hockey players, Ronin Sharma, Caleb Reimer, and Parker Magnuson last Saturday. All 3 of them were members of the Delta Hockey Academy. They were killed when their vehicle struck a tree in Surrey, British Columbia. Just absolutely gut-wrenching news. I think Reimer had been drafted by the Edmonton Oil Kings, and the stuff that they released about him was just, you know, just seemed like the nicest kid in the world. And I'm, you know, all of them really, all the stuff that people were saying. And it breaks your heart when stuff like this happens. And, you know, we all remember of course, the locomotive airplane crash. I think that was 2011, 2012. And then of course the Humboldt Broncos bus crash. It's just horrible, horrible news. And, you know, it really just does break your heart.
Yeah, I'm just gonna echo what you said. I mean, at this point, there's really not much more that you could say. So, yeah.
The last one to touch on, and certainly not the least, Rod Gilbert, Hockey Hall of Fame forward for the New York Rangers, has passed away at the age of 80. He helped Canada win the 1972 Summit Series. If you don't know what that is, I implore you to please watch the movie about it. It is some of the best, probably, hockey history you'll ever hear about, and some of the stories in there are just incredible. But this man, he was Mr. Rangers. He spent his entire 18-year career with the Rangers. He appeared in 8 All-Star games and won the Bill Masterton Trophy in 1976. And his number 7 jersey became the first number ever to be retired by the Rangers when it was raised to the rafters at MSG on October 14th, 1979. So we just want to say rest easy to him and wish the best to him and his family as well.
For sure, Mr. Ranger. So yeah, that's a big loss. We're praying for him and his family. Nick, you want to move on to the retirements?
Yes, indeed. Henrik Lundqvist announced his retirement from the NHL, and professional hockey is, that falls within itself. Ending his 15-year career, he released a statement saying, "For the last 30 years, I have devoted my life to the game of hockey, and now it's time to walk away from the game I love and begin a new chapter." He put that on Instagram and Twitter. He also went on to say that the future excites me. I've met so many amazing people over the years that will help to guide and inspire me in my new journey. And the Rangers pretty much immediately announced that they're going to retire his number 30 with a ceremony during the 2021-2022 season.
2 things to say. Number one, first of all, legendary goalie. Doesn't matter that he never got a cup. Absolute legend. Incredible career. Congrats to him. The other thing I'll say that calls back to the question of the day, with the Rangers planning on retiring Hank's number, which obviously they should, I think it's interesting when teams retire a dude's number that happens to be a really common one. Think about that. Nobody can wear number 30 for the Rangers ever again. Every goalie that comes through there is going to have to either go for the number 1 or go for the 35 thing, or just throw a wrench in that whole formula, like we were saying, and just pick something random. But yeah, that is kind of an interesting aspect of it that probably not everybody is thinking about, but just thought it was kind of cool.
No, it is. I always think about that kind of stuff too. 30 is definitely one of the more common ones. I mean, if obviously the Caps will retire 8, right? So no one can wear 8.
It's 50-50 at this point. They might not. We'll see.
Yeah. You know how
19-2 though, maybe. I don't know.
It should be. I'm going to be pissed if it's not.
Yeah, me too. That's
awesome. Yeah, props to Hank, man. What a career. He made hockey so much more entertaining, especially in that, 2008 to 2015 time span. Some great battles with the Penguins. I'll never forget. One of the all-time moments is he was pissed off at the ref about something. I think someone, had goalie. I think it was Brian Russ ran through the crease. This was in 2016. Same year we beat him in the first round and won the first of back-to-backs. Yes, I'm talking to you, Mark. But he pushed the net over behind the play, and we had a breakaway. Gensel had a breakaway coming down the wing, and Hank just chucks the goal over completely. Why would you do that? And I remember Paul Steigerwald was the commentator at the time, and Bob Erie was like, "I don't know what's going on." And I was just like, this is absolute chaos. He had some great battles. The water bottle pour on Sid's neck, obviously that's a famous moment in the scrum. So I'm going to miss battling him. He made the Penguins Rangers games a lot more entertaining. So I'm wishing him a great retirement.
Yeah, absolutely. Tormented me for, pretty much my entire middle of high school, and then, first 2 years in college, actually. So yeah, he's going to retire with a record of 459, 310, and 96 in 887 career NHL games. He finishes his career, ready for this, with a save percentage of .918 and a .243 GAA and 64 shutouts. He's the franchise leader in all of those categories for the Rangers, which we all knew, but and then I think it's important to remind everyone that this guy did lead Sweden to an Olympic gold in 2006, and they were not expected to win that tournament at all.
No, they weren't. That's a very good point to make. Yeah, he was awesome, dude. I love Hank. He's not really a guy that you can hate. I mean, despite some of the shenanigans on the ice, like I had just mentioned, class act off the ice, and so damn good looking. I don't feel like you can make fun of him.
I always forget he has a twin brother too.
He does.
I did not know.
Who's no slouch in his own right, just like a legend over in the Swedish Hockey League.
Yeah.
Nice.
What's his name again?
Joel or Yoel, I think maybe.
I thought it was
Can't wait for that to be wrong.
It's wrong, but I don't know what's right. I was looking at
didn't have to wait. Quick one before I forget. Sorry.
Go.
Penguins announcer Mike Lang also retired. All-time great. Steve Mears, when we had him on, about a year ago, talked about how he got him into announcing, and now Steve is the announcer for the Penguins. So a huge happy retirement to Mike Lang, been the voice of the Penguins since the start of it all. So
Yeah, one of the legendary voices in hockey too. As much as I hate the Pens,
he's
it's
awesome.
a hockey night in Pittsburgh. It's it's iconic.
The best catchphrases too.
My question to you guys is: Hank now the best goalie to play in the NHL to never win the Stanley Cup?
Do you have a list of names that maybe?
Nope. This is from the hip.
I mean, Carey Price comes to mind.
But of goalies, let's limit it to goalies that are
retired,
never going to win a Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
Too. Which
I don't know. You guys brainstorm. Let me see if I can find something.
Well, I feel like all the main. I
Like,
know that
go through like the big boys. So Brodeur has 3, Waugh has 3, Hasek has 1.
Roberto Luongo and Curtis Joseph would probably be the other two.
Belfour has 1, right, with the Stars.
Yeah.
Okay. Grant Fuhr, obviously, with the Oilers.
Yeah, these 3 guys are probably.
I mean, I think it's a discussion at that point, at least.
For sure. I think Hank and honestly, yeah, Bobby Lou sent he sent a tweet to him or whatever that was like, congrats, should we start a 2 Goats No Cup podcast?
Hysterical. I love him.
Sick.
He's so funny.
Yeah, I think Lou would be right up there. I mean, in his prime, he was obviously probably considered the best goalie in the NHL, and
the Canucks made him captain.
Yeah, I think in terms of, please someone fact check me on this. I think Luongo has more wins. I think.
Right. Hank played for so long though.
Yeah. They both also, don't forget, made it to a cup final.
They did.
And Bobby Lou came just a little bit closer, but
yeah.
Roberto Luongo, yes, he is 4th all time with 489 wins. Lundqvist will finish at 6 with 459.
Okay.
So,
wow.
I mean, yeah, they're both
Who's
up
5th?
there. Ah, shit, you just made me close. Hey, one sec.
Don't worry about it.
No, it's fine. I don't mind. What do we got here? This is great radio. We got Ed Belfour at 5th with 484. Fleury's number 3.
Beers or wins?
Both combined. So yeah.
Yeah, well, kudos to Hank, great career. Last retirement to touch on is that the Buffalo Sabres legendary play-by-play announcer Rick Jeanneret is going to retire after his 51st season. You're not hearing things. That's correct. He joined the Sabres on the radio team in 1971 and is the longest tenured play-by-play announcer for a single team in NHL history. He has been a part of every one of Buffalo's seasons since the club's creation, except for the initial expansion year.
I think Mike Lang is second behind him. I'm almost certain of that. Yeah, that's crazy. So 2 great announcers. You now have 0 reason to ever watch a Sabres broadcast again.
Seriously, except for our good buddy Rob Ray, who has nothing but amazing things to say about Rick. If you want to hear that, go back and listen to that interview, because he's the best. I mean, and he's hysterical too.
Yes, he is. But man, Rick was such a great voice for the Sabres. It actually made the broadcast, somewhat enjoyable because the team's play definitely wasn't. So, him and Mike Lang, 2 goats, they'll be missed.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the drama here.
So we had an offer sheet, our first offer sheet in 2 years in the NHL. And I love offer sheets unless my team's involved, because then it's a nightmare scenario. But when it's not my team involved and it's 2 teams that I don't particularly like all that much involved, I get a huge smile on my face. So the Carolina Hurricanes, out of nowhere, tendered an offer sheet to Canadiens forward Jesperi Kotkaniemi. As I mentioned, that was the first time that's been done in 2 years, because 2 years ago, it was the Canadiens offer sheeting the Hurricanes forward Sebastian Aho. The Hurricanes eventually matched that. They had to lock him up to a 5-year, $42.27 million contract. So the Canes clearly have been holding a grudge this entire time and just were biding their time and waiting. And they offer sheet Kotkaniemi, and I think it's $6.1 million for a 1-year deal, which is a lot. Yeah, it's a lot, especially for a player that was
they're tripling his
scratched at a couple points last year.
He makes 2.1 right now, so they're tripling it.
And
It's so
for
funny to
1
me
year
that's a
too.
1 year. Yeah, exactly.
1
That's
year.
the kicker because
And
it's like if you're Montreal, you're like, I mean, it's just 1 year. Like, I guess we could, but
Yeah.
also like,
and
God, we didn't
Montreal only has
that
2
much.
million in cap room.
Correct. So if you're confused and you don't know why this is funny, basically what happens when a team can, tender an offer sheet to another team's restricted free agent and say, we will give you this much amount of money and maybe a couple draft picks or something like that. The team that the player is currently on can either match that deal to keep that player there, or they can let him walk.
Right. So now basically what's happening is now that the Canes have offered an offer sheet to Kotkaniemi for 6.1 million, Montreal has to pay Kotkaniemi 6.1 million this coming season to keep him, or they let him walk. And from what I'm reading,
It's you pay him 6.1 or you get nothing for him.
well, you get nothing. Yeah, exactly. And I think what's going to happen is they're going to let him walk. I don't think that they're going to be able to shed the salary cap space that they need in time. And I don't think he's worth $6.1 million. I know it's a 1 year deal, but
and it's not like they would get nothing. I think they would get 2 draft picks in compensation, but
I saw somebody say that this is just a lose-lose for both teams, and it's just a win-win for Jesperi Kotkaniemi, and he's the only winner.
for sure.
Like, I mean, yeah, it's funny that the Canes did that, but also like not really the smartest like business move. I'm not sure.
Like when was the last time like someone's salary tripled after having a surprisingly mediocre season?
Well, the thing is, they have the cap room to have some fuck you money, and it's only a 1 year deal. So it's really
all hate the Hurricanes because they're just pieces of shit that don't even like.
They're a bunch of jerks.
I'm not gonna lie though, I kind of love this. I mean, this is a huge fuck you back. And for those who haven't kept up as much as we have, the Hurricanes changed. They made the announcement in French.
They tweeted it in French.
They tweeted it in French. And I hope I can find this, but they used the exact same language in their PR announcement that the Canadians used when they tried to get
changed
They
the
said,
name.
we have a young core here and blank, interchangeable name, is excited to be part of our young core, blah, blah, blah. They don't miss the details.
No, the signing bonus was Sebastian Aho's number.
Yeah, there was $20 signing bonus.
Yep.
That's literally it. They are trolling on level 10 right now. And Frank Saravelli, the guy who basically broke the expansion draft, he said that this decision came from ownership, not management.
Oh,
this is not a GM move. This is the owner saying, okay, you want to play that game? Fine. Yeah. And I think they're gonna end up getting Kotkaniemi for a year. I mean, forget the salary for a second. If it's 1 year, it kind of doesn't matter if you have the space. Who knows? I mean, you put him on that team, third line,
ship him at the deadline too.
Ship him at the deadline. I mean, they kind of have it made. So we'll see what happens. But from what we're seeing on Twitter, the insiders are making it sound like, the Canadians are either going to have to let like Paul Byron or Drouin or someone like that go to shed the space. And I don't think they're going to do that.
No, I think the other good thing that they tweeted was the Uno reverse card. Just
reverse, dude. That was so funny. Holy shit, dude. Whoever runs their Twitter page needs a raise because they must get so many engagements. It's crazy.
Yeah.
The reverse card. That's great.
Moving on, the city of Glendale is terminating the Arizona Coyotes Gila River Arena lease after the end of this upcoming NHL season. They have played at this city-owned arena for the past 18 years. However, the sides have been operating on a year-by-year agreement since 2016, and they have been unable to find a long-term solution. I think one of two things needs to happen to save this hockey team. One, move out of Arizona. Go to Quebec City, go to Oklahoma City, go to Salt Lake City, wherever the hell they want.
I don't know, some city that just won an NBA championship and just put themselves on the map or something like that.
There you go.
Just an idea.
So that's one. Two, move the team to Scottsdale.
Yeah, I'm not even going to act like I know what's more probable, but I thought I saw this, and I could be so wrong, but I think Bettman made like not snarky, but he made like an indirect comment like, no, it's going to stay in Arizona.
And I think it will. And I don't want the Coyotes to leave Arizona, but
No.
I like putting the arena in downtown Scottsdale with how up and coming and popular of an area that is, instead of out in the middle of nowhere where there's nothing to do around the arena and it's impossible to get to, is going to help your team.
Yeah.
Ticket sales, it's just money.
Definitely.
And I know
I'm
that's,
for
know,
that.
we're asking them to essentially build a new arena there, but
So what? Just do it.
right. If you can own a team, you can build another arena.
Well, it's classic billionaire. Like,
Yeah.
you know, oh no, I got to build an arena. It's going to
Right.
take 2% of my money. You know?
Exactly. The Sabres superstar Jack Eichel has recently parted ways with longtime agents Peter Fish and Peter Donatelli and is now represented by Pat Brisson of CAA Hockey. Brisson is one of the biggest agents in hockey, representing the likes of Sid, Nate McKinnon, Anze Kopitar, Patrick Kane, and John Tavares. His roster of clients also includes upcoming superstars such as Trevor Zegras, Zach Hughes, Elias Pettersson, and Cole Caulfield.
Only thing I have to say here is I don't know how you can ever fire a guy named Peter Fish.
Yeah, that's just
That's just
awesome.
like
Yeah.
Peter Fish. Are you kidding me?
right.
So for whatever this is worth, Eichel was on a flight with hockey gear to Montreal last week. Take that for whatever it's worth. I also heard that he should actually be having the surgery in the next 2 weeks, and he'll be on schedule to come back in December. So the fact that he's getting the surgery, even though the Sabres management has been completely against it, tells me that there's hopefully some traction here, and we should be getting something in the next 2 weeks. I would imagine.
I think so. And I think it's also worth noting, and this is just rumor mill nonsense, but I think his agent is really, really good friends with the Burger Van. So
He is, and yes, he is. And they actually went to the Players Association to talk about how poorly this has been managed by the Sabres.
Yeah. I think, didn't Robin Lehner, we talked about that last time, expressed his displeasure as well with how the Sabres handled his medical stuff. So
Yes.
Yep.
clearly seems like it's a cultural thing within the organization, or someone's got to go. So, let's talk some international stuff. First and foremost, not the outcome we wanted, but congrats to Canada for winning gold at the Women's World Championship last night. It was sort of a wacky ending. Marie-Philippe Poulin scored on a semi breakaway, went bar down. No one saw it go in except her. She's screaming that it's in. The whole bench is screaming it's in, and it blatantly obviously was. And as soon as Canada touched the puck, they just blew the game dead. Horn went off. So, congrats to the U.S. women on getting the silver. That's absolutely nothing to put your nose up at. I know they wanted to go out there and, mop the floor with Canada, but I have to say my favorite moment of this was watching Canada celebrate, because Blair Turnbull literally shattered her ankle during the celebration and then came back out on the ice with her gold medal, on a stretcher.
That's fucked.
Yeah.
That's also kind of awesome.
Yeah. Just after all that, then you go and shatter. I think you can see her mouth, when she comes out, and she's, the best part is she's laughing her ass off. All her teammates are laughing their ass off, and you can see her mouth. I jumped on you and just shattered my ankle. So
yeah, no, congrats to them. I mean, like you said, she's screaming, it's in. I love when they scream that. But she goes bar down, you kind of got a Patrick Kane moment where nobody knows it's in except for her. So that was kind of cool. But yeah.
The only other thing to touch on international wise is Denmark defeated Norway the other day to qualify for their first ever Olympic berth in men's ice hockey. Jets forward Nikolai Ehlers helped lift them to a 2-0 victory. Denmark joined the IIHF back in 1946, and after 76 years, they're going to get their first taste of the Olympics, which is just awesome. Ehlers led the way for Denmark with 9 points across 3 qualifying games. The other notable Danish players include Freddie Andersen, who's now the goaltender in Carolina, Oliver Bjorkstrand, who plays for the Jackets, Lars Eller for the Caps, and Mikhail Bodker, who played with the Yotes, Sharks, Avs, and Sens over his NHL career.
I liked Bodker a lot. I know he didn't really pan out the way a lot of people wanted.
Sneaky good in overtime.
Yeah, I liked his game. I liked him the best with the Sharks, honestly. Maybe Avs too. He was okay there too.
Wasn't he there when the Yotes had their run to the conference finals?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
he was. He was one of their first or second line forwards during that run, so.
Well, let's move on to our chat with John Schiavo. I'm sure everyone's eager to get to that. But before we do, we just want to remind you that summer is almost over, but there's still never been a better time to get out on the water. If you're looking to finance that new boat or yacht you've always dreamed of, well, the Yacht Lender is a specialist in marine finance. With partnerships with 15 different banks, he is the right lender for whatever vessel you may be in the market for. Backed by Trident Funding with over 25 years as an industry leader, the Yacht Lender has the expertise and know-how to finance the boat of your dreams. Don't wait. Apply today at yachtlender.com or check him out on Instagram at yachtlender to see others who have already gotten out on the water. We're going to toss it on to John right now.
And we are now very fortunate to be joined by John Schiavo. John, we really appreciate you joining the Empty Betters podcast and appreciate you having you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
So I want you to know, and I know we just said this before the episode started. So I found your page through Instagram, some crazy real one-handed like 720 Tony Hawk spin backhander. And I ended up clicking on your page, and I've been addicted to your content ever since. Your YouTube channel is great. Your Instagram profile is great. And then I obviously saw that you have your own, your training page as well. So before we get into, how you got into hockey and, your whole story, how'd you end up getting your own like training brand? And is that going well for you? I know you're kind of traveling all over the country right now.
Yeah, it's actually really good. The training side of it started because my own page was kind of always watered down with me playing. Mm-hmm. And something besides me playing pro roller and pro ice is my teaching and coaching. And I love teaching and coaching all summer long. I do a lot of Zoom sessions and stick handling classes through the phone, like from afar, because I'm always traveling. So that's kind of like how the training page came about. And in the beginning, it was a lot of clients that I had in New York and a lot of buddies that wanted to see more of the drills and stick handling, stuff like that. So I really focused on just making 2 different pages for 2 kind of different looks. And it's actually worked out pretty good. It keeps me a little extra busy having that extra page and making some extra content, but it's for the best.
Yeah, it looks like it's a big hit, and you're obviously a very busy man. It's I'm glad that we actually got to get you for a little bit here. I know you've been traveling a lot. So let's take it back from the start. I know you're from Long Island. That's a place that Nick and I are extremely familiar with. A lot of listeners from there. So we have our love and appreciation for the New Yorkers. How'd you get into hockey? Where'd you play growing up? Let's get the whole background story.
Yeah, so I'm born in '94. And that's when the Rangers won the cup. My dad was a diehard Ranger fan. I'm pretty sure, when I was born, the guy giving birth to me was wearing a Rangers hoodie. So it was straight out of the gate, just hockey. But I got on wheels and on ice when I was around 3. My dad was just, taking me to the rink. My dad played locally, rec league and things like that. He always played his whole life. So got me into it early. I mean, all the pictures I see, as far as I can remember, I always had a mini stick in my hand, a real stick in my hand. So I was hooked. But yeah, on Long Island, it was a good culture for roller hockey. So I was lucky that being around my dad and then starting to play when I was really young, that was really how it all started. Just my family getting me to the rink and teaching me the ways.
So when you were growing up, were you playing both ice and roller in organized leagues, or is it something where you kind of went into different phases as you got older? How'd that work?
It was actually totally different phases. Funny you just brought that up. I talked to my dad about it recently, and we were laughing because at one point, I didn't want to play. I was so young, but I was just burnt out. You play so much, whether it's rec league. I wasn't really playing travel much, especially at the young ages, but I actually always played goalie and player. I loved goalie. I loved being the goalie. I think it was because of the pads and just being in the net, playing the whole game. And then it was a certain age where I was just stick handling off the rink and shooting so many pucks. All the coaches were like, "Hey, you gotta play. You're not a goalie." And so I mean, there was a couple months where you just get sick of it, but I always played rec league on Long Island, mostly roller, and that was my passion, still is. And as I got older, I started to play a little bit of ice, never AAA, never even double A. I played single A. I would miss ice for roller because I loved roller so much more at the time. And then it was around 14, 15. I had an opportunity with some really good teams and still wasn't AAA. But then that's when I was like, okay, if I want to take ice to the next level, I got to start really taking it serious. But I always played roller the whole time.
Why did you tend to go? Why did you prefer roller over ice?
I don't know what like the real reason was, it was just like I always had so much fun, and still to this day I feel like when I strap on my roller skates, it's like I can skate better than I can walk. Like that was just like always my vibe. When I got to the ice, it was always like training a lot, really focus on all these extra coaching things and extra lessons, where like roller, I would just go out there and practice as hard as I could with any age group. Like the age groups didn't matter to me. And I felt like I was as best I could be every year growing up. Where ice, it was like, if you're not playing AAA, you're like out, which I didn't believe that. And now looking back, like I'm blessed with the career I've had. I'm blessed the places that ice hockey has brought me, where like I never played one AAA game. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's a pretty different route than most. So, and I think roller's given me everything that I have, like skill wise and development wise.
It's funny you say that because, I mean, obviously I never played at the level of competition you did, but I played roller before I played ice. And I've always loved roller more. I don't know if maybe because like I played on asphalt outside as a kid, but I've recently moved into tiles. I just did my first season on tiles indoor. And then ironically enough, found your page at the same time. So now I'm like addicted to just going to the tiles rink all the time. But it does kind of feel, I don't know if it's like more free flowing. Would you say it's like maybe a less structured game? You get a little more creativity?
Definitely more creativity. And especially if you're not playing like a serious season and like you're playing house league or just with your buddies and stuff, like you could tell it's like intense. Like everyone still goes really hard. But yeah, it's like more creative and more fun. That's how I always felt. It was like going to the roller rink was always fun. Sometimes you go to the ice rink on a practice day on a Tuesday and it's like, oh man, we're going to get bag skated. Like that was never the case. Like we might've got bag skated 1,000 times in my lifetime in roller hockey, but I was smiling the whole time. Like it was it's a different feeling at the rink. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm
Well,
glad you got on the tile because that's awesome. Like I'm
dude,
so lucky that that's how I grew up, and I played a ton in my street, a ton in the driveway. We were so lucky on Long Island to have so many good tile rinks. I moved to Minnesota. I spent a lot of time in Minnesota now and New York. In my rink in New York, I have a tiled backyard little training spot that I made
that's the
a
dream.
year ago. But in Minnesota, there's no such thing as tile. No one's ever skated on it. So
Right.
like it kind of takes me all the way back. Like
Yeah.
learning, how it is on the smooth pavement again, and it's totally different. So it's cool that you had the opportunity and now you love tile too, because I explained to these guys, like, I
Yeah.
can't wait to bring tile to Minnesota. Like you love
That's
it
awesome.
now, like you're going to love it even more.
It's funny you say that because I said this to the guys after our first game. I literally just started playing on tiles in April, and I was like mentally so effed up. Like I was slipping. I was like, "This is not asphalt. The wheels don't grip." I literally, the way I said it is, it felt like someone sprayed like, epoxy or something, like a coating on top of cement, and I couldn't stand. And by the end, obviously, I was addicted, and it's a lot of fun. But unfortunately we don't have a lot of tile rinks down here in like the Baltimore, DC area.
Nope.
The league I'm in is a place is a complete dump. They're gonna get a lawsuit for like heat exhaustion or some shit.
Oh,
but
jeez.
yeah, it's horrible. So I'll have to come. Nick's in Long Island all the time. I'll have to come up and check out your rink or something. But
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have to.
I leave my stick and skates in the car just in case. But no, Harry, it's funny you were talking about like spraying like the tile was something, because I literally like I didn't have enough money when I was younger to buy a shooting pad or like a stick handling pad. So I took a roll of linoleum, cut out a square and sprayed it with furniture polish, and it slid just like ice. So
That's awesome. That's a good trick.
yeah.
Any of the kids out there want to try something?
Right.
Go for it.
Yeah.
So I know you mentioned when you got to, early adolescence, you realized that ice could take you somewhere. So can you kind of follow up on that? And for the listeners who don't know, you were invited to the Islanders rookie camp 2 years in a row, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yeah, correct. Crazy path. Like I started playing junior C/junior B. Long drive from Long Island. I'm from Patchogue, which is like the middle of Long Island. I was driving all the way to the city. My dad was working a ton. My mom was working a ton. They were driving me all the way to Brooklyn just so I had an opportunity at junior B, junior C. So hours in the car, doing everything, sacrificing so I could play. And that was like the itch that I finally had. Like you have your own locker room, like practices 4 days a week, 2-3 games on every weekend. Like that was a real deal, like playing juniors. And I was young at the time. And it was a lot of roller guys that actually got me to, play and take it more serious. And right then and there, like I knew that I loved it and I was going to work as hard as I can to develop. Each year I moved up. And then I got to my 19-year-old year. I was playing Junior A, Long Island for PAL Islanders. Had basically no correlation to the real Islanders. It was just the name and sponsorship and rink. And I was having a good season, but roller was more my thing. And I had like a rough couple months during the season with points and things like that. And like going into 20-year-old year, like, you know, if you're not going to get a scholarship, you're not going to find a team in any division in college. Like I was ready to just move on and play full-time roller, like I was already doing, playing pro roller in the summers. I traveled to France, checked out France to see if I would go over there and play roller. Like I was all in on the roller thing. And I mean, the story is so crazy. Like I'm skating, I push nets after every practice to the Zamboni guys. These guys end up becoming like my best friends, like to this day. And get invited back to like a staff skate. Just do my thing, act like myself, you know, be the player that I am. And a couple months go by, everyone starts to know me around the rink. Didn't really know where I was signing, if I was going to even play ice hockey ever again. I end up saying that, and then someone gets like sick. There's like 1 or 2 spots open, and I got a call to like go train at the rink with like the real team, like the Islanders that are all in town. And I kept up a couple days in a row, like met everyone, was doing good, and then legitimately got invited to prospect camp in Long Island, which is like the biggest honor ever. Like my dad's a huge Ranger fan, but like I'm an Island, like Islanders, Rangers, doesn't matter. Like I love the players. I watch the players. So I get invited to this camp. I literally left it all out there. Like I was going to that camp thinking like I wasn't even playing again after. And what a heck of an experience. Played really well, scored a goal at Nassau Coliseum in the game. Like my whole family's there, like everything. After the camp, I have a meeting with Mr. Snow. Asked me where I'm playing, if I'm signed anywhere, kind of like just like a quick exit meeting for the guys that were around and, you know, not prospects and things like that. I was like, yeah, I think I'm done. Like probably going to go over to France, play roller hockey. Like, you know, ice hockey was great. Like this is a fantastic way to end it and move on. Like what a blessing. And he was like, I would just keep training. And like when someone like that says that to you, you're like, all right. So then I kept training, got an opportunity in the BCHL, literally just got a tryout. I mean, that's a far away from Long Island, incredible league. At the time, I didn't know too much. I knew it compared to like USHL, NA, like I knew it was comparable, but I honestly didn't know anything. Fly out there, get a tryout, 2 preseason games. Coach was just totally blunt, honest with me. Like, hey, you have to take someone's spot. We're going to play on the top lines or play on the power play. You're not even one of the oldest guys on the team, but you'll be in the top echelon of it. And probably had the best 2 games of my life, had the best season of my life. And then Merritt, British Columbia was like the best ice hockey season I could have ever dreamed of. Never even thought that I'd play in a league like that, in a city like that, have experiences like that. And then next year, go back again to Islander camp. Did really well. Long story short, I couldn't get into Division I college because of clearinghouse, because of maybe not having a language and certain classes. Mm-hmm. So road totally turns again, end up going to the ECHL, playing the SPHL, and 7 years later, still grinding out in the minors.
That's awesome. That's a great story. What was Mr. Snow like?
Oh, incredible human being.
Cool guy.
So nice, so down to earth. I mean, at the time, team was building up. That was like when Barzell was coming in, right. Del Cole was in the camp, Pulak, Pelich, like all these guys that are household names now. Mm-hmm. So they had, they knew where the team was going and what was going on. So he was so nice to me with all the training sessions, actually being around the real team at the time, just taking care of me, like at the rink, like those things, like you dream about being in the locker room like that with those guys and making it to the NHL, right? But just being a part of it to develop and see something behind the doors that you'd never get to see, like it was so much of a blessing from him and my friends that helped me get there along the way that were around the rink that will literally be my best friends forever.
What was the playing style in the BCHL like? I'm curious.
It was so offensive. It's crazy to hear that there's so many good defensemen out there because there's so many goals scored. So you're like, where are these good defensemen like playing in these teams? But all the defensemen are offensive. Forwards were like all out offensive. Still like structured game, but I've watched and learned a lot about the USHL since then, and how there's more systems, like more getting ready for college, which like the BCHL is a developmental league for college as well. But they really let you play. Like they wanted to see your personal skill, and they didn't put like, certain restraints on you as a player. Like they wanted you to be you, and we'll work a system around your line and your line and your line, which all the teams I felt like had certain styles, but every line had a different style. Like we had
Right.
Tyson Jost in the league that year.
Oh, okay.
And obviously he's unbelievable. So like his line was so dangerous. And it wasn't like they were playing a certain system, because they were playing so fast and so high tempo. Their D jumped in the rush all the time. So for me, it was like the perfect fit. Like jumping into an offensive league after everything I played in ice hockey was so defensive and so structured, where like roller hockey isn't. So like I jumped into this league, it was like roller hockey version 5-on-5 with offsides.
Yeah,
and
you're
like
kidding the candy
just,
shop.
just go all out. And I had two great line mates. Gavin Gould, he played D1 Michigan Tech, and he's a bit younger than me. And then a kid that was 1 year younger than me, Diego Kugler, he played a little bit in the American League since then, and in the ECHL. And like just us as a line all year, like once we got the chemistry, they were a little bit faster than me. Like obviously always played ice hockey, so great skaters. And like just the way that we played was so smooth that like other teams were like, oh my God, like all these guys can shoot, all of them could skate, all of them could stick handle. So just like it was like lethal throughout the year to get used to guys and then play so offensive and like not be hounded, if there was mistakes here and there.
Sure. Do you think that sort of like free flowing thing, I mean, you said it was just like perfect for you. I think one of my favorite things about your content is you're constantly talking about involving creativity and, always looking for something new in your game. Do you think that's why that was such a huge success for you that year?
Yeah, I think so. I think, 100% being creative and having a way to yourself development is huge. Like that's why I'm doing all those things on social media. Like I want kids to be able to push the envelope, to the next level. It was really cool. Actually, I just like was messing around, made up this new backhand, like pick up one-handed shot. I've been doing it for like a month or two. And then Hey Barber just threw it up on his page, pulling it off and like doing it. And like,
Yeah.
I mean, if it's not him posting that, it might be someone else posting it and a kid sending it to me as well. Just like he has a big following, and like seeing someone do something that, I'm hopefully elevating the game with anything I make up and any moves. So same thing, like when we were allowed to play that style, it was like, all right, I'm going to use as much creativity as possible, create space for myself, create space for my line mates. And yeah, I think it worked perfect that year in our way of playing, and especially our line.
So I was going to ask you about Hey Barber, because I saw that he like said this one's courtesy of you, and I was like, oh shit, like he's going to come on the podcast. That's kind of cool. So like, have you ever talked to Hey Barber? I mean, I know I mentioned Robbie Shrimp before we started the interview. Those two guys are what you remind me of in terms of just like the crazy like lacrosse style shit.
Yeah, so like Robbie Shrimp, I always looked up to. I loved how creative he was when he was playing in the All-Star games. And I mean, if you ever check out his stuff, like he actually tried to pull some crazy stuff off in the game. Like
go look at his London Knights highlights. They're nuts.
Yeah, sick. And even after that, he played pro in Europe, and on like a 3-on-1, he comes down lacrosse style, picks up the puck at like the top of the circle and throws it on net, like at top speed. I'm like, that's the stuff I like. Like I haven't tried that. Like I'm more of like, all right, pull the Michigan every once in a while, like try something silly in the shootout, but like mid game on a rush, like I'm definitely not usually thinking, let me pick it up and chuck it on the net. And he literally almost scores. So Hey Barber, we've actually met, Brandon, Winnipeg. We did a shootout against each other on wheels. It was an absolute blast. We had a ton of fun. That was a couple of years back. We always keep in touch through social media. It's so funny, like all these guys that I chat with over Instagram, Facebook, anything like that, TikTok now. It's so crazy because then you see them like a couple months later or a year later and you're like, man, don't you like live down the road from me? Like we see each other's stuff every single day. Like you just feel so comfortable. So I think I've only met Brandon 2 times ever. And the one time we did like a shootout against each other, we talked to kids, we for just hanging out in Winnipeg. And yeah, really, really good stuff what he's doing. I love his content as well.
This isn't related to that, but when you were talking about the Islanders, it made me think of it. Were you at the Game 6 playoff game? I thought I saw you throw up an Insta story. Were you there?
I was there. I was there at game 3 or game. Yeah, I was definitely at game 6. That was the last game at the Coliseum. So I was definitely at that one. I was at one prior to that in that same series. What a game that was at home.
I was going to ask, what was that like? Talk about the perfect ending, not necessarily the series, but to the arena. I mean, what was that like?
Oh, it was crazy. I was there multiple times now where I thought that was going to be the last game.
Mm-hmm.
And every time it hasn't been the last game. So there was one year where they were playing the Capitals. They were already like knew they were going to Barclays, everything like that. And I remember it was like rock the barn, they kept saying. And like I was like, I've never heard this place louder, like ever. Like the top is going to blow off this place. This game 6 topped that. And I'm like, maybe they know it's because like they might not come back. Like who knows how the series is going to go. Like this could really be the last game, especially with Belmont almost being done. And craziness, just so loud, especially how the game was going. I mean, how good the series was up until that point. The only thing that I didn't love was, I don't know if you guys saw, like at the end of the game, they're like throwing.
Yeah, you were chucking Bud Lights too.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah, no, I was ripping Bud Lights out of a guy's hand behind us from throwing the second one on the rink. So
yeah,
I didn't love that. I think like, especially if your players are on the rink and they just won a huge game, like. Cal Clutterbuck was like just looking around, like shaking his head. And like it said, like I play pro hockey. I wouldn't want to see my fans, especially after a huge win, like throwing stuff at us. It wasn't like it was just like at the other end. It was like at where players still were. So besides that questionable play at the end, like literally the whole game, it was loud, such a good atmosphere. Sad that was the last game. But I mean, to go out on a win like that and almost seal the deal the next game, like that would have been huge. But it was a cool experience.
When I saw you were there, I was like, that has got to be something that we talk about, because I don't think I've ever heard an arena that loud when Beauvillier buried that. So that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
Oh, it was rocking.
I do want to touch on your roller career just to switch gears a little bit. So you have played for Team USA in the IIHF World Championships. So I'm kind of curious, how do you get like an invite to that? Because I'm not necessarily educated on the whole like rankings of roller hockey leagues. And then secondly, do you find that there are other guys that played at a really high level of ice like you did that also end up going to that roller hockey team?
So it's actually hard to explain if you're not in the roller hockey scene at all. So how you get recruited and how anyone kind of knows your name in the roller hockey scene, especially in the pro scene, is you play at 3 major events. Every summer, whether it's June or July, there's 3 major events. And now those events are from 6U all the way up to the pros with 35 and over divisions, junior divisions, 18 under, everything. And those 3 events, their pro side is cash prize for the winner. And it's called Narch is one of them. Tours is another one. And State Wars is right now the biggest. So you play in those 3 events. Usually there's 10 to 12 pro teams. You enter your team in. Most times it's like basically an invite type thing. Like most teams couldn't just like enter their team into pro. Mm-hmm. If you go to 1, 2, 3 events, if not, most of the time the games are streamed. All the stats are taken, everything like that. So like I've been playing luckily since I turned 17, had like my first opportunity in the pro division. And then I've only played in 2 different pro teams basically till right now. So it was a team back in the day called Next Generation. And then I ended up like coming home and playing with more local guys from New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. And now we're called the Unified Black Ice. So we've been playing in these circuits where you get seen and recruited. The owner of the biggest tournament is actually one of the coaches on Team USA. So they're watching and monitoring everything. Our assistant coach is like, his name's Greg Thompson. He's one of the best defensemen to ever play for Team USA. Top 5, like all-time roller hockey players. He's the assistant coach. He runs that event. He still plays in that pro event, even though he coaches USA. So it's like guys are always watching, And then I was lucky enough where back in the day, there used to be a tryout to make the team. So you get invited to tryouts, you go to Colorado, you have like literally the best roller hockey game in the whole universe to ever like be played, because you have the best guys there for a week just going at it against each other trying to make the team. And those years that I got invited there, I ended up not making it, but I think it helped me in the future when then I was available again, whether it was because of Islander camp one year I couldn't go to camp, and then they just started picking the team out of like how you're playing at the tournaments and who's kind of on that level to be on the world team from the tournament. So luckily 2017 was like my first lick at it and really making it, going over there, and the experience was crazy. But especially IHF, that was the last ever IHF roller tournament. They actually shut it down after that year. So to experience that, like you watch the men's IHF or World Juniors, all of those, like this was the same exact setup for inline. It was insane. It was awesome.
I remember watching some of the footage of that game, and those were some nasty games. Like I remember like watching some highlights. I think you guys ended up beating someone like 8-2 or something like that. And literally like guys are scoring goals and turn around and just punching opponents like square across the face.
Yeah, it was crazy. That was my first ever goal. We're playing in Slovakia. I scored my first ever USA goal against Slovakia. Didn't even celebrate. This guy like slashed me like a baseball bat because like it was probably like the 5th goal of the game or something. So he was just mad. And I was like, what was that? Like usually like I didn't even know what he was saying, but obviously he was pissed. And he's like swinging his stick like a baseball bat at me. And I was like, I just scored my first goal. Like, I'm not really worried about you, but like that was crazy. Like when I watched the highlights back, and it's always more physical at those tournaments. Like usually roller hockey, especially in a rec league, like there's not a lot of checking.
Mm-hmm.
But in these, like if you're on the boards and you really rub someone out or you like get a hold of them, it's kind of like fair game because they want to see the game played instead of like power plays at the world stage. So, I mean, it never gets like too out of hand, but it definitely is more physical than most would think of roller hockey.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, with Nick just saying that, as far as the contact goes, I mean, you guys aren't wearing shoulders pads when I see the highlights. So it's basically just kind of like, bump and grind on the walls, rub outs here or there, but there's no like open ice checking or anything, right?
No, yeah, correct. Yeah. No open ice checking. I always say though, like anything on the boards goes.
Yeah.
Because I've seen some like actual hits on the walls that have not been called over many years of playing in the pro division. Mm-hmm. But I've also seen like some of the best defensemen in roller hockey just angling really, really well. And then it's like almost a big hit on the boards. You know what I mean? Like it's never open ice. That's an absolute penalty every time. Interference would be called even then also if they're stepping up, like trying to get in your way and not like also taking you out. But around the boards, like behind the net, it's a physical game. Like a lot of people don't really see that or know that, but it's physical. Like I wear not like a girdle that you'd wear on the ice, but I wear like hip, like that area because I get hit every tournament pretty good, like once or twice against the boards where if I didn't have padding there, my hips would be destroyed.
No, I know what you're talking about. It's like a mini girdle kind of almost.
Yeah, exactly.
I do want to ask you, just because you seem like you're kind of an expert in both fields, is there a difference in your approach to training when it comes to roller versus ice? Are there any tips that you could share with someone who maybe wants to do both? Like, is there a difference in how you approach the training aspect in those?
I train really similar to both. That's just me. I think transitioning back and forth all the time. I just got so comfortable doing it. I think being in good conditioning shape, I feel like on wheels, you need to be able to like free flow and move your legs a lot more than on the ice. Where on the ice, like you get a couple really good strides, you could like pump your feet and, swizzle around and still gain a lot of speed. Where in roller, you like almost slow down if you're not moving your feet. So there's a lot of drills that I'll do, especially like from ice season to roller season, where it's more like pedaling the whole time, stick handling, using the whole rink. And then I don't know if you guys, when you watch our pro games, it's really like slowed down. Like we set up behind the net a lot. We throw the puck back a lot. But that means, especially me, if I'm stretched in the zone, like I got to fly all the way back behind the net to maybe pick it up and wheel it again all the way up. So I think in ice, like I'm rarely coming down to the hash marks to wind it up and get the puck for a breakout, go end to end and back check. Like that doesn't rarely
Right.
happen. So in roller, like the skating part in practice, I'm doing a lot more, just like laps or grabbing the puck, skating end to end, stop at the net, come all the way back, just because, especially in a big tournament, like those 45-second shifts, you might get stuck out there for a minute 10. And if you've done one or two up and downs, especially with the puck, like with a little bit of pressure, you'll be a little bit more tired. So a lot of my training, shooting, stick handling, all the drills, 2-on-1s, all that stuff, like my vision, everything's the same, ice skates, roller skates. But I would just say like the skating portion of it, the actual skating part of it is a little bit different.
That's interesting. Yeah, now that you mention it, that does kind of make sense. I'm gonna nerd out here for a second, just because that's how I am. So obviously, practice makes perfect. But you being the stick handling guru you are, is there like any like pattern of your curve that you kind of like say, hey, if you want to try to do like these crazy stick handling moves, like you need a fish hook or you need a straight blade? Is there like a different type of flex you got when you're
he's
pressing
just
down and
using this
scooping?
like as a personal chance to like get your training
I'm a
reps
huge-
for free, right?
I'm a huge
I love
stick
that.
nerd. I'm a huge stick nerd. I apologize.
Well, I have my girl here, and she was listening in the beginning of this. She didn't hear that question, but when I answer, she's going to laugh. I mess with my stick like no one else. And she's
Yeah.
the first one to always tell me, it ain't the stick. Like, don't worry about what stick you're using. You
Right.
shoot with it all the same. Doesn't like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Flex, like
Yeah.
the height of it, whatever you use seems to usually work. So it ain't the stick. So I truly have believed for a long time, especially with the kids I'm training though, to learn with a straight blade is huge. Like
Yeah.
if you can shoot a puck, but I'm talking like a Modano, like a PM9, like old school straight blade. That's what I used until I was 16 years old. I didn't change my
Wow.
blade at all.
It's like using
crazy.
a 2x4.
It's crazy. And now
Yeah.
I know, like now my curve has changed the past 6 years in a row, but it's tweaking that like lie. It's tweaking that part of the blade. But I always say, if you could stick handle with that and you could do like Matthews pull into your feet shot with one of those, well, then when you load it with a Sakic or a P92, or now even the P28, if you learned it with no curve, then when you get in the pocket of one of those curves, you're going to absolutely zing it on net. So
Right.
I still try to promote that, like stick handle with the straighter curves, shoot a lot of pucks with that, like have your techniques down, because a lot of kids, all they want to do is raise the puck. And I know if we're talking about yourself, like if you shoot really, really good with a P28, the biggest curve you could buy right now, how's your stick handling? How's your backhand?
Right.
Are you only good on your forehand, stick handling on the, on your right side if you're a righty? Like you can't really take it good to the other side, or like you can't pull it anywhere else, shoot it anywhere else besides the pocket. Like it really comes down to like getting extra nerdy here. Like you have a certain style of player, whether it's roller or ice, and you have the wrong stick, it's hurting you 1,000,000,000%. And from flex, from kick point, huge part on the curve, and the lie. I believe the lie is huge. If you have a certain height stick and there's only a portion of the blade on the ground, like I use a lie that at my height, the whole blade is touching the ice. Like whether I lean upward or downward, reaching for a puck, like there's burn mark across the whole bottom of my blade.
Yeah.
If that makes
no, because most people's is just the heel. Yeah,
exactly.
Because we had Luke Gazdick on like 3 weeks ago, and when he played with Ryan O'Reilly in juniors, and we were talking about his curve. I'm not sure if you've seen the picture. It's incredibly effed up.
So weird.
But he said in practice he tried using it, and it was foreign to him because the whole blade down to like the last millimeter of the toe was touching the ice the entire time.
Crazy, right?
He was like, I don't know how people do that.
Yeah.
So it's
just
weird.
Just with practice and preference, and I stick handle, no exaggeration, every single day for a minimum of an hour.
Yeah.
So my whole life of doing that, I've stick handle with every curve under the sun. I've stick handle with every lie under the sun. And everyone's like, how do you get, hands like that? How do you know what curve you like best? And I'm like, it's kind of whatever I'm comfortable with at the time, whatever feels the best at the time, because I'm always trying things. I always want to develop in my way too.
Right.
And I used to always tell the kids, like, I know you can shoot it really good with that big curve, but like let's just try to have you stick handle with the little curves or no curve at all and see how it is. And they always struggle. So like, that's why I always go back to the basics. Even if I'm using a bigger curve right now, I stick handle with the straight one a couple of days before the tournament, go back and only shoot pucks and things like that, play games with my real curve. Right. And I feel like the control is like what you're making of it and how you're training with it. But again, if you could rip it with that P28 or one of those big curves, it's really like what are the other things in your game that you could really do well with that big curve, you know, to pick what's right for you.
That's, I mean, it's spot on. And like, you know how kids are. I was the same way, you know, growing up in the DC area, you know, I wanted to be Ovi. I wanted the, you know, the CCM curve with a fish hook at the end of it and the yellow laces and stuff. So do you use like more of like a squared toe? Did I see that correctly? Or is it?
My toe right now is pretty round.
Okay.
I did one season, actually, when we won the championship in the SPHL, I ran out of sticks. Crazy, like crazy to run out of sticks in the playoffs. And there was two other curves. One was that big P28, and the other one was like I call it like the Lindstrom.
Yep,
like
I know exactly what you're talking about.
So, and there was like 6 of those, and I was like, okay, like I really don't want to use that other curve. Like Patty Kane uses this curve, like other guys use this curve. Like, let me just try it. A couple of my roller buddies, really good roller buddies, use it and love it. So I was like, all right. Ended up playing the whole playoffs with that series. The second that season was over, I never touched that curve again, but I got through with it. The square toe is definitely different, but I've been like a round toe guy my whole life.
Who are some of your favorite players that you watch in the NHL today that, you know, whether it be their hands or just buddies that, you know, you've met over the years? Are there any guys that you root for specifically? Because I know you mentioned at the start your dad was a Rangers fan, but then you said I root for the players.
Yeah, definitely the players. I always say that, like, I guess growing up, I was, you know, a Ranger fan with my dad because that's who we were watching. It's obviously a New York City team. But it's definitely always the players. Like Sidney Crosby is my favorite player forever, whether it's watching him, how he shoots, you know, how he tapes his stick is like, honestly, how I tape my blade, same type of way. Yeah. So like growing up, it was him a lot, watching all of his highlights, things like that. And then as the games evolved, like Datsuk was right there with Crosby for being my, you know, second favorite or top favorites. And now watching guys like McDavid and Draisaitl, and then watching Barzal is one of my favorites, and obviously getting to skate with him and watch him, be around him at camp, be around him after camp, like watching those guys are unbelievable. Then on top of that, I got the chance to skate with Tavares once or twice. Mm-hmm. And like another guy that I compare him more to like Crosby than Barzal, right? Like the style and how they play, but being around those guys and seeing how they play, those were like my favorite players. And then as I got older, being on the ice with them, like I watch the games now and like I'm literally just looking for the guys that I've trained with, like guys that I've skated with, guys that I know. Like in Minnesota here last summer, we were skating with. The list is absolutely incredible. Like the fact that I got to be around these guys and train with them, and one of the guys is Teddy Bluger. We're like, I watched Teddy. Crosby. I watched Crosby all the time, and I met Teddy last summer, and I cannot tell you how hard of a worker he is. Like I'm around so many hockey guys, and most like put in the work. Like there's not a guy that I could like think of off the top of my head. Like, man, he was a lazy guy. Shouldn't be in the NHL. Like to me, I've never met that guy. Right. But Teddy Bluger, like, put in absolute shifts at the rink.
I love him.
He's an absolute monster off the ice.
Yeah.
And for the average, like maybe hockey fan, like you might not even know him.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I know him because I was watching Penguins, I was watching Sid, Malkin, and like he was always in the mix. And like the way he trained, the way he practiced face-offs, the way he thought the game in the summer. I was like, man, like I can't wait to watch him next season. All season, I loved watching
popped
him.
off.
Popped off, had a great year. So super cool. And I love all the pro guys, all the NHL guys, all the American League guys, like literally any league. I try to keep up with all the guys I get the opportunity to skate with. But growing up for sure, like 1-2, Crosby, Datsuk all day long.
Yeah, I can vibe with that. I'm a huge Pens fan. So Nick's a Caps fan. That's why I was drinking his Yuengling when you said that. But,
I don't drink Yuengling. I'm not from Pennsylvania. So who, in your opinion, you said Crosby and Datsuk were your favorite players growing up. Who's the best stick handler do you think you've ever seen?
Jeez, ever seen? So hard to say. It could even be like some roller guys too.
Yeah.
I think in the NHL right now, you look at some of the best players, and I mean, Patty Kane always comes up first. Like, I've never skated with him. Everyone that skates with him says it. What you see him do in games is insane. And like, even like Matthews doesn't like put on a show all the time because he's got such an incredible shot. But when he dangles too, it's like, oh my God, this guy's hands. So I couldn't put my finger on the best stick handler because I think there's so many good ones and so many that I like watching, but like, we got to watch out for this kid Caulfield too. Like,
oh man, I was going to say
an absolute clinic.
It could be one of these like 18, 19-year-olds. I'd put Zegras in there too. I mean, the stuff that he does is unreal.
I absolutely agree with Zegras, another young stud that's coming up, and some of the stuff he did in the American League this year is ridiculous. Like, he's doing the things that I'm doing like for fun at practice, putting it on Instagram, you know, and he's pulling it off in the American League, like, which is sick. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think all these guys, I mean, so many guys in the roller world too, like John Schiavo, he played pro ice, played D1 college. Junior Cadiz, another guy that played on the world team with me. Matt White, he's absolutely one of my favorites, has a sick shot, sick hands. Like, the list in roller too, like, if anyone saw these guys, I know it's not in the NHL, but if they're in the American League and like there was highlights, like these guys that I'm naming could easily be on it, just the roller versions and ice versions. But where the game is going with the young kids seeing that they could pull this stuff off like a Zegras, and I honestly say, like, I started pro 7 years ago, so like I couldn't even try that stuff then. You know what I mean? Like, your head would be chopped off. You get chased.
Oh
you
my God.
Get chased down. Like, I remember doing fun goals in Islander camp, and like there was guys that reacted and were like happy and like, that was sick, that's gonna blow up, whatever. And like there was guys that were pissed. You know what I mean? Like, that I did that. Like, and I don't even know maybe the background, but like I'm sure there was coaches that still to this day were like, man, these guys that are doing that stuff is changing the game, maybe not how we want it. You know, like, we don't want that stuff. Like, now you got Forsberg pulling off the Michigan. You have Carolina Svechnikov. Sorry, I couldn't pronounce it good. Svechnikov pulling it off like easily pulling it off. So like, I love it. I think if you can do it and you could score, like, if I'm behind the net in overtime and I have a chance to pull that goal off to win the game, I'm pulling it 100% of the time because it's high percentage. And in my eyes, it's realistic. And people are like, oh, do it in a game. Oh, try those moves, like, not in your driveway. And I'm like, man, if you're watching the NHL, like, they're doing it. Like, sorry, I'm not in the NHL right now. Like, not the one doing it. And I could do it everywhere else. But, like, guys are doing it. And it's lethal.
Yeah.
I think that's always been sort of like a hockey culture thing, especially for, you know, guys that are like, you know, I was born in 94 too. So like guys that are our age and, you know, a little bit younger, a little bit older, it was, you know, 200 feet north, south, get it in, get it deep, get off, you know, that kind of stuff, or at least for me. And then, you know, now I think we're starting to see a little bit more of the creativity come into the game where, you know, coaches and guys are seeing like, hey, you know, this is just the way the game is going. And it seems like it's really, you know, a change for the positive. Have you noticed that as well?
Yeah, 100%. Definitely change for the positive. I mean, I talked to Chris Versteeg a lot. We became pretty good buddies, and listening to how he talks about the game is like what I dream of the game. Like, the way he played and like threw sauce and like his nasty hands, like if he played a little bit sooner to what it is now, he'd be at the top. And he was already at the top. He was legit on the Blackhawks. He's one of, you know, a legit NHL star.
Two-time Cup champion, right?
Oh yeah. And like the way his hands and the way he thought the game was literally futuristic. That's the same thing with Robbie Schempp. Sadly, he wasn't in the NHL long enough, but like his highlights that when he were in the NHL or when he was in the NHL were ridiculous. It was the future of what we're seeing guys do literally 8 years later, 6 years later.
Yeah.
So I love where the game's going. I love the creativity. I think the more leash that guys get, the more creative they're going to be, the less scared they're going to be that someone's going to take their head off or coach is going to bench them. You know what I mean? Like, you had Svechnikov, I think, like missed 3 Michigans before he scored one. Yeah, and like guys were like, he's not going to do this. He's not going to do this. I'm like, the first time he tried it, I'm like, he's going to try it every game now. Like, until he gets this, he's doing it, because
Or-
when you have that in your head, 100% you're getting it.
Right. Or more importantly, someone's going to be puck watching behind the net now and someone else is going to be open.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
It's funny you mentioned Versteeg. I'm hoping we're going to get him on here. We've tried to be in
Yeah,
contact.
we reached out to him the other day.
We're working on it. It's getting there. But last question I have for you, because I know it's getting late and we're keeping you along a little bit. But what's next? I mean, you seem like a guy who's constantly pushing it. What do you have next coming up?
Grinding away. Summer's almost over. It's crazy how fast the summer went with
I know, right?
things more opened up. So this weekend we're in St. Louis for State Wars, the pro event. So the last pro roller tournament of the summer, which is exciting. Came up a little short in the two other ones. We got second place in both pro tournaments, Tours and Narch. So hopefully at this one we could bring some gold home, some cash. But that starts Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday is the playoffs and championship stuff. So that's in St. Louis, which is a great place to be. Good city for roller. They convert the ice rink. I think there's 3 ice sheets. They convert them all the tiled rinks. Beautiful setup. And then besides that, just training on the ice, training in the gym, locking in for next season to wherever I end up. Protected by Huntsville and the SPHL again, so that's always good to be protected. Place I know, place I've played. I'll definitely be playing pro ice next season, that's for sure. But focused on getting through this tournament, coming out with a big win, hopefully, for Unified Black Ice, and hopefully you guys follow along.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
I'm loving all the game recaps on YouTube, and if you're staying in Huntsville, maybe that's something we can come see. When things are open and fans are allowed.
Yeah.
So keep it up, man. You're doing great. I mean, honestly, I'm just a 24-year-old kid who's got a 9 to 5, but I've been playing roller after work because I started seeing your stuff. I was like, all right, I need to get back into it, and it's fun, it's great, and I love your content. So keep it up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Best of luck, man. Go kill it.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. And honestly, I would love to come down there. So I have a clothing line called Goodwood Hockey. I'd love for you guys to check it out, goodwoodhockey.com.
Absolutely.
And we started a nonprofit called Hockey for Good. So we actually go to, not that your market is untraditional, but we've been to untraditional hockey markets.
Yeah,
and
it is.
Well,
it was when we were there, so that's what mattered.
You don't have to bullshit with us.
So we bring our camp anywhere, mostly untraditional hockey markets, and we donate equipment to all the local kids. I mean, even if adults wanted to try. So I'd love to connect, obviously grow where you guys are, grow my brand, bring stuff around and donating our time back, our equipment back. And I think that's a huge piece. Even if some kids come out, try hockey for the first time, you might never play roller, ice, pro, college, but you made a hockey fan for life. And that's what we're all about. Just trying to grow the game.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely connect. I mean, and if there's any way that we can help you, we'll do whatever we can. I'm
absolutely
big fan of your brand, and we'll be looking forward to the Huntsville season coming up, and I'll be following along for this weekend. How big's the pot, by the way, if you don't mind me asking?
35K.
How many teammates you got?
Usually about 10 or 12.
It's not bad, yeah.
Not bad weekend.
That'll cover the bar tab.
Yeah, right.
For the rest of the team, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me, guys.
Big thanks to John for chatting with us. Such a nice guy, and just so cool to hear his journey, from playing roller growing up to eventually playing roller and ice professionally. I mean, I don't know how many other people could say that.
Yeah, I fanboyed pretty hard ever since I found his page. I think I told him 3 or 4 times, I love what you're doing. There's a lot of people that are playing hockey in warm climates that don't have access to ice, as easily as someone up in Mass or, Wisconsin, Canada. So I think what he's doing is awesome. Go check out his Instagram page, give him a follow. He has a training page as well. If you're into that, it shows all of his drills. He has a new stick handling tool that just came out the other day. So he's doing great stuff, and I think he's going to be a pretty big presence on hockey social media. So good luck to him. We appreciate it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Let's hop into some signings. The Flyers have been quite busy. They signed forward Derek Brassard to a 1-year deal worth $825,000. They signed defenseman Travis Sanheim to a 2-year, $9.35 million deal. Just a reminder about what that back end looks like. They traded Gostisbehere and Hag while bringing in Ryan Ellis, Rasmus Ristolainen, and Keith Yandel in separate moves. So that back end is no slouch right now. That's definitely something to keep your eye on. And they also re-signed their boy, Sean Couturier, to an 8-year deal with an AAV of $7.75 million. What do you guys think?
I'm picking up what the Flyers are putting down, and I hate to say that out loud, but they are making some serious noise this offseason, and I like what they're doing. That, like you said, that back end is definitely shoring up. I think they got a little more steady Eddie back there as opposed to the flashiness that you had in Gostisbehere. It's all going to come down to Carter Hart this season.
Yep.
Big time. Yeah, they've made a lot of moves. They've totally shaken up their team from what the roster looked like last year, which is interesting because that team, if you remember, started red hot last year, and everybody was like, "Oh shit, the Flyers are gonna win the division. They're gonna be nasty." And then halfway through the year, they just
imploded.
Stocked, and a lot of it was because of Carter Hart, honestly. So,
yeah.
Like Harry said, it's gonna come down to him. I love the Brassard signing. That's a dude that I think is totally worth a 1-year deal at that price. He's showed that he can, battle for ice time on a lot of different teams, and I like that fit in Philadelphia for him. The other signing's pretty solid. I like the decor shakeup. We've all talked about how not sure Sean is worth quite that much, but the Flyers are going to pay him, so we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, they locked him up long term, which I think is what they wanted. I don't think they were psyched about the $7.75 million hit, but down the road, that I think that could actually be a solid deal for them.
It should be, and I think Flyers, if there's Flyers fans listening right now, they're absolutely just fucking cussing at us because everybody screams he's the most underrated player in the league. Did he win a Selke? I know he's been nominated a bunch of times.
He's been nominated. I don't think he's won one yet.
I would probably fact check that before we end up getting canceled by Flyers fans, but yeah, he's been great for them. He brings a great two-way presence. I think he's worth about maybe not quite that much, maybe 6.8, 7. I'd say. I'm not going to obviously shit on 7.75. The term is great. I think he's only 28 years old.
Oh, he did win one.
I was going to say that's
1920. Yeah,
we're not getting canceled today, baby. But Flyers fans love him. They're going to crucify us for this, but I think it's a good signing. I mean, he's their future. Giroux's kind of dropped off a cliff ever since his prime years, and Voracek's gone now.
Sucks.
Yeah, ever since he sucks. Yeah,
ever since his fans started using the Orb of Confusion.
Right?
Flyers fans got so mad at us.
They got so mad when we did that.
We shouldn't be too mean, because if there's anyone out there listening who wants to be a Flyers content piece guy for us, please contact us. I know I put that up, but
as long as they're not actually from Philly, I think we can swing that.
Yeah, and nobody's going to want to do it now. So props to the Flyers. They'll probably be good this year, and the Pens will miss the playoffs. So yeah, I'm doing great.
Moving on to another dangerous team in the Metro, the New York Islanders. They locked up Kyle Palmieri, 4 years, $5 million, and Ilya Sorokin, 3 years, $4 million.
Those are per, obviously, but yes.
Moving on down the list to yet another dangerous team in the Metro, because this is how life works now. The Hurricanes reached an 8-year, $62 million deal with Andrei Svechnikov. I think everyone was sort of wondering what this was going to look like and when they were going to announce it, but now we know. So he's staying put in Carolina, and I think that's probably
biggest contract in Hurricanes history. Fun fact.
Yep, it is. So it's the exact same as Couturier's in terms of total amount and term length. So
I think it's fair, especially since he's so young. I think he's 21 or 22 years old. So he's obviously not even in his prime yet, and he's been a beast for them so far. So good for them. I'm glad that they got their guy. He's definitely, I mean, I know you guys obviously are going to be like, oh, but Ovi beat the shit out of him. And it's like, yeah, we know.
I wasn't even going to bring that up, but if you want to talk about it, we can.
I saw the faces on Matt can't hold himself back when it comes to the Hurricanes.
I mean,
he has to fire off.
It was funny. That's for sure. But
yeah.
I saw Mac's face. I was like, something's coming.
I'll leave it be.
The Minnesota Wild also signed defenseman Jordy Ben to a 1-year deal worth $900,000. So
yeah, okay. Good luck with that.
The more interesting information about the Wild is obviously going to be around Kirill Kaprizov. They are expecting a deal to be done shortly, and it was reported last week that this whole him going to Russia thing was just smoke and mirrors, like we all thought it was. So that comes from Michael Russo at The Athletic, and hopefully we should hear something about a deal soon. I saw it was like 5 years, I think, was like the term limit. I forget what they were saying in terms of price, but yeah, should be done soon.
It was 5 years. You're right.
Okay.
It would be like a 5x9 deal, something like that.
Okay.
So, I mean, what are you going to say? No,
You're the Wild. You just have to pay him at this point.
Yeah. I mean, he's basically that he has the upper hand. So
yeah,
I think he's calling the shots at this point, but
definitely.
That's about it for news. Mac, I think you have a message for our fans.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. But just before we go, we want to remind you guys that if you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with Craig and Courtney Lachlan to raise money for the Lachlan Family Foundation. Lachlan Family Foundation was established to advance the research and care surrounding rare forms of cancer. To raise support for this great cause, we have teamed up with Craig and Courtney to create the Wowie Kazowie bundle. You get a limited edition shirt and a koozie, while all the proceeds go to a great cause. Go ahead and head to emptybetters.com to check out our store and pick one of those up today. As we mentioned before, we'll see some of you guys at the golf tournament, hopefully, and we'll also be slinging those bundles there. So get them while they're hot. And like I said, support a great cause too.
Still waiting on approval for the t-shirt cannon. So
wait a second.
No, I'm kidding.
You're on to something.
Yeah.
Great episode, boys. It's been a little bit since we talked. You know, it's September now, so that means training camp and preseason is right around the corner. We're going to be getting fired up here again real shortly. About 1 month and 2 weeks until the season.
Like we're about to hit that sweet spot in sports that's just the best.
Yeah, you got baseball playoffs right on the horizon. You got start of NHL season right on the horizon. Start of NFL season is like so soon. Is it? It's not tomorrow, is it?
Start of the NFL season? No,
a week from tomorrow.
It's a week from tomorrow.
Right. Okay, that's what I thought.
And I'm so glad they picked like such an exciting game. It's the Cowboys and the Buccaneers. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I can't wait.
All right, wait a second. Come on now. That's
if
kind
they
of a good
give
one.
the Dallas Cowboys any more airtime, I think I'm going to kill myself. They have not
so
fielded a
boring to
competent
watch,
football team since I have like had 2 feet on the
I
ground.
think I'm gonna
It's so bad.
But listen, if Dak is playing, which I don't know, they keep footsing around with that. I don't really know what the latest is. If he's playing, I don't really care for the Cowboys, but I do like Dak Prescott. I think he's a good guy. I think
he's a good guy. I'd rather watch
he's
a
a good
handful of
quarterback.
other quarterbacks before I would get to him, but
No, I know, but come on. I mean, you want to watch, well, I guess unless you hate Brady, right? Obviously. So
I don't hate him anymore. I hated him when I was younger. Now is he my favorite person? No, but I respect him.
I'm excited for this. I think it's going to be a good game. I'm excited to see the Cowboys hopefully lose. I know I'm going to get grilled by a couple people listening for that, but I think it's a good matchup. I know you're saying you don't want to watch. It's two teams you probably hate. There's defending Super Bowl champs versus quote unquote America's team.
It's like Duke basketball. You either tune in to watch them win or you tune in to watch them lose. But either way, you're still watching.
Right. I'm excited in general for the season. I'm also doing a fantasy football league for the first time in a very long time. So we'll see how quickly shit hits the fan there.
Who's your quarterback?
Lamar.
Let's go. You're fine.
Yeah,
Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
that's huge.
But the other thing I'm even more excited for is the survivor pool that I do every
Nice.
year. Those things are just so fun. So
I love
easy.
those.
Just pick one team to win, and it sounds easy, but I mean, not easy at all.
I
But
feel like
Yeah,
we
a lot of fun.
we need to do like some like NFL segment during the season, like weekend picks or something. I don't know. If anyone out there's listening and you like the idea, shoot us a DM.
Give me a
Three-way
couple
Sunday
weeks
parlay.
maybe I can come up with some sort of like survivor pool adjacent type of game we could get going for the NHL too, or something like that. I'm usually pretty creative with those kinds of like little betting pools. So
Like do it on a week-to-week thing.
right, something like that, like somebody to get a win this week, or I don't know. I'll think on that one.
Okay.
Anyway,
Real
Um,
quick before we end, I know we're running along. Mac, what's the latest against the what the fuck is their name? The
Beer
men's-
Barons.
The Beer
Yeah,
Barons.
the Beer Barons unfortunately eliminated us. I was not at the game because I was coaching hockey camp in Maryland, but I got word from our team that it was another ugly one. Didn't get
number
any
9 score?
details. I don't know. I don't know any details about that because I haven't seen any of the guys since then. But our fall season starts up in literally like 2 weeks, so stay tuned. I'll get the scoop on how everything ended with that and if they ended up going on to win the whole thing after that or not, because I think that was the semifinal that we got bounced in. But it was a good season. And one other thing I will just say, everybody keep your ears and eyes peeled for details on a fantasy hockey league coming very soon. So
Yep. We're going to run that back again this year. Put a boat on the water last year. I'd like to put a second one out there. So we'll see if I can do it again.
Tried and funded, baby.
Yeah.
Nice.
Is that it? Anyone got anything else?
I thought you were gonna say something, but I'm good.
Nope. Mac took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say, keep an eye out for the fantasy hockey league. We definitely want to do that again. So should be some fun.
I don't know the next time we're recording. We've been doing an every other week thing in the off season. Just, we're working on some things behind the scenes, believe me. At the pace we're going, it sounds like maybe the next time we record will be after the golf tournament. So we'll have some solid content, interviews, sound bites, whatever you want to call it. So, and a NASCAR race, God help us. So yeah, all good in the EB world. Thank you everybody for listening. We appreciate the love and support as always. And without further ado,
Class dismissed.